You either use the internet for fun or you use the internet to grow. You're here to grow. Welcome to TRS Clips. There's no piece of romantic advice that you'll find on the internet which will apply to you 100%. All pieces of romantic advice apply to different people. I've just realized that there's no rules when it comes to love. There's some guidelines. There are some ways to keep yourself safe, but you can't completely rely on Instagram Reels or YouTube Shorts or YouTube videos or even courses on love to actually learn about love. You probably only learn about love through life, through your own subjective experience. If you're lucky, you might get married to someone very, very early in your life, and you might have a fantastic marriage if a lot of other factors go right. If you're unlucky, you may not find the right person till you're 35, 40, 45, 50 years old. But the one thing life has taught me is that if you have a burning desire in your heart, God answers that desire with a jigsaw piece answer, someone that fits your puzzle exactly. And that's the great hope that I have tied my love life upon. I've not met the right person. And I've learned that you shouldn't settle for anyone that you think is 1, 2, 10, 100 steps short of what you want in life. You need to know that you're never going to get anyone perfect, but at the same time, you need to have a high standard when it comes to choosing your life partner. There's something called the Pareto principle that American professionals, or generally that global professionals follow. It says that of everything you choose to do in your professional life, only 20% of your professional tasks lead to 80% of your results. So if you scan all your results, 80% of your results come from 20% of your actions. So it's important to identify what those 20% actions are. Great professional hack, which I've used throughout my professional life. But when you're talking about such a key decision, when you're talking about marriage, you apply a Pareto principle upon a Pareto principle. So 80-20 upon 80-20, which makes it 96-4, which means that one single decision, 4% of your life, is going to determine 96% of your life. That's the one thing I figured from talking to so many people on the show, talking to people who've been through divorces, talking to people who've been through the worst kind of infidelity, talking to people who've had healthy as marriages. You need to give a lot of shits about who you're getting married to, which is why don't settle, and at the same time, don't expect everything from your partner. Your partner's never going to make up for all your needs, yada, yada, yada. Your partner's not going to provide everything that you wish for in your heart. You're not a part of a Disney movie. You're a part of Bhulok, as we call it in India. The realm of suffering. You're going to suffer in your marriage as well. You're going to have moments, even with the best possible partner, you're going to have these moments where you'll want to split up. You're going to want to divorce them. You're going to want to get out of that love story. But do you still choose to stay within it? I'm waiting for that person in my life. I'm not going to rush marriage. That's the one truth I've learned through talking to so many people on the show. That's my 30s vibe, and so many of my friends are married. So many of my friends are having children. So many of my friends are very unhappy that they're not married. So many of my friends are enjoying the unmarried life. I'm somewhere between these two categories. I'm a little unhappy that I haven't found my partner yet. I really thought I'd be a father by 30. But at the same time, I understand the blessings of having this much time, space, energy, and love to give to other aspects of my life, like my family, my mother, my father, my work. God plans out a beautiful story for you if you constantly keep that faith in the big being in the sky. That's what I'm relying on at this stage. While I have an atom bomb of romance in my heart to give, I'm going to wait on it. Okay? This is not a, hey, ladies, come DM me. Come send me Instagram proposals. This is not one of those messages. I'm just talking from my heart. You know, the slightly up truth about marriage, and I actually don't know whether this is up or whether it's pretty practical. You should marry someone who you enjoy chilling with. Are your chilling activities the same? Marry that person. Are you also attracted to that person? Great, marry that person. Can you see yourself talking to this person forever if you are the only two human beings left in the middle of a zombie apocalypse? And the reason I say zombie apocalypse is because you'll have to go to war with this person by your side as well. Not in the zombie apocalypse, but in life. You're going to have to go to war with this person. These are my 4 nuances when it comes to deciding upon the person that I'd like to get married to. So many more factors. I can write a long list. Everyone has their own subjective non-negotiables in terms of this is what I absolutely want in a partner. I know my non-negotiables. I'm not going to speak about it in this episode because it's not a love-themed episode. It's a life-themed episode. I was saying that the up thing about this is that you grew up watching Bollywood films thinking that violins will start playing when you see someone, or there'll be a nice piano tune as you make eye contact, or when you kiss someone, there's Arijit Singh's vocals in the background, right? It's not at all how marriage or relationships work. I've had relationships, spoken about it on the show, not going to speak about it more. Seen unthinkable amounts of joy, which is probably hormones at play. But then I've also seen an unthinkable amount of sadness and pain. And the extremity of these two emotions really tears you apart in some nice ways. I think we're sent to this planet to be torn apart a little bit. God plans all our suffering in different ways. And for many of us, our karmic cleanses are the phases of romantic suffering that we're meant to go through. That's how I look at it. Which makes marriage such a strange situation. I'll talk about my reasons as a 30-year-old for wanting to be married. If I scan my 20s, the happiest phases of my 20s were either when I was spending time with my mum and building memories with her, that parental bond. Or it was when I was in a committed long-term relationship and I got to share both love and pain with that person. I've had 2 very intense and very painful relationships in my 20s, which crossed a certain threshold where I was seriously considering marriage. The most beautiful memory of my whole career is when I crossed 1 million subs and I didn't know what to do with all those emotions. I couldn't explain them to my parents because they are not in the same age category as me. I couldn't explain it to my team because they've done it with me. I could explain it to the girl I was dating at that time. I didn't know how to process what was going on inside me because so much sacrifice, so much pain had gone into just hitting 1 million subscribers. This is back in 2018. Back when I used to drink and do other naughty things. So in a state of intoxication, I just remember using that intoxication to rope out, pull out whatever was inside me. And what I got was a bag of tears. And it happened because my girlfriend at that time, it was a nice, amazing relationship. My girlfriend at that time was right next to me to give me that kind of tear off or grounding or support or stability. Most beautiful and wholesome moment of my 20s. I've had some great moments in life. I've met Virat Kohli this year. That was a great life moment. I didn't get sleep all night. I have seen my mother weep out of happiness because of certain professional achievements. Unthinkable in terms of joy. I've seen my grandparents come over, pat me on the back in one of the worst phases of my life and tell me that they're extremely proud of me. These are great moments. And I question that why that particular moment with that person was still stronger than these other moments. Is it because I'm a romantic at heart? I don't know. I do definitely know that the best version of me as an artist comes out when I'm in a serious, committed relationship. Something happens to my creativity. So maybe this is a slightly selfish way of looking at life, but I know that the best version of myself happens when commitment is a big part of my life. And I know that there's a lot of people who view their lives in the same way. And that's my basic logic for wanting to get married. I know that it boils down to companionship. How much sex are you really going to have? How many intelligent conversations are you really going to have? After physical intimacy and intellectual intimacy fade away, you're left with spiritual intimacy. And spiritual intimacy doesn't just increase by praying or going to places of worship or listening to spiritual TRS podcasts together. Spiritual intimacy is also about actual practice and living through moments of fierce pain where your soul is providing blankets of shelter to the broken soul that you've chosen to be your one. That's how I view my life. Up, Pixar's Up, that film, that's what I want to be. When you live a materialistically gifted life in your 20s, you have access to money, you have access to all the frills that come along with money, you have access to fame, you have access to all the sex that comes along with fame. That's not what I want. That's not what a lot of the stable, high-value men around me want. Fortunately, I'm surrounded by a lot of people who are old school. I'm old school. And I know I want to get married. Just not met the right person. I'm not putting pressure on myself about meeting the right person either. No matter how much pressure my relatives put on me. That's the other thing that a lot of people my age are going through. Your relatives are putting pressure on you. Do not rush into marriage because of that. I'm seeing a lot of marriages break down around me because the marriages were rushed, and they were rushed because either of the two parents or all the relatives put together or society, friends, cousins in general were putting pressure on both the halves of the couple, or at least one of the halves. Someone rushed in or both rushed in. You do not need to win that race of marriage. Okay? Even if you lose 5 years of your life, for the next 80 years of your life, draw out an 80 centimeter line and draw out a 5 centimeter line. What matters more? You tell me. Do not rush your marriage. While we're talking about all these unique problems of people in the late 20s and early 30s, what I really want to highlight in this point is divorce, which is a very cruel and extreme reality of our generation. Too many people are going through divorces. Marry carefully. I'm not just telling you guys this, I'm telling myself that as well. Especially if you're a diehard romantic, marry carefully. It's not just about the legal battle that you'll have to go through during divorce. It's not just about the money exchange or the material exchange that happens. It's about the emptiness of divorce. We had Shekhar Kapoor on the Hindi podcast, spoke about divorce in detail. He said that divorce before it happens often feels like you feel before a breakup. You want that breakup because that end of the relationship gets bitter because of an event, because of behavioral patterns, because of love fading away. Mostly it gets bitter. And then you think you want to exit it. You break up with someone and you feel like shit, and then eventually you're fine. He said that that's how breakups work. Non-marriage based relationships. But when it comes to marriage, you feel like you want the divorce. But eventually what ends up happening is that you get the divorce. You start thinking that, okay, this is just like a breakup. You try coming to terms with it. But eventually you realize that you've lost companionship, which is the core reason for human marriage, globally speaking. That's why people get married. To raise a family together. To go through experiences together. To live together. You lose that companion. I asked him about the male perspective on divorce, and he said that you'll never feel that kind of loneliness in your life, the kind of loneliness you feel post-divorce, especially after you've come to terms with the anger you had when it came to your marriage. That's not a life I want for myself, which is why I'm going to choose my partner very carefully. And I hope and pray that every single person listening to this podcast also chooses the life partner very carefully. Study about relationships, but don't take blind relationship advice from social media. Clips released at the same time that a podcast releases. This is TRS Clips. Make sure you subscribe.